this. Just like the visual of this is amazing.
Path of Exile 2 is, in my mind, a once-in-a-generation game. The kind of experience that doesn't just elevate a genre, it redefines it. With a scale and ambition we haven't seen in years, PoE 2 is set to be the benchmark for ARPGs moving forward. But what exactly makes this game so special, and why are fans, streamers, and critics already calling it a masterpiece? Stick around as we break down why PoE 2 is shaping up to be the most anticipated ARPG game released of the decade. Grinding Gear Games has poured years of development into the sequel, and the result is nothing short of spectacular. PoE 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a complete reinvention. It's a game designed to thrill veterans and welcome newcomers, offering an experience that truly feels ahead of its time. So what's driving this incredible wave of hype? Let's dive into the features and reactions that have the entire gaming world buzzing. What sets Path of Exile 2 apart isn't just that it's new, it's how it's revolutionizing the ARPG gameplay at every level. This isn't a minor upgrade. It's a complete overhaul that's turning the genre on its head, creating a new game that feels as fresh as it is familiar. Let's talk about one of the more talked about features, and that is the skill gem system. In Path of Exile 1, building your character could sometimes feel more like solving a puzzle than playing a game. You needed a specific socket color, you needed to have links, layouts, and even then, switching gear often disrupted your gameplay or your build, and it was rewarding, but it also was pretty frustrating for new players. I myself was not a fan of this system for Path of Exile 1, and honestly really turned me off to not truly enjoying that game. Path of Exile 2 is changing all of that. Skill gems are now pre-linked, completely removing the need to worry about socket setups. This frees players to focus more on the fun part, crafting powerful builds, experimenting with new combinations, and customizing their playstyle without having to fight with their inventory. And then there's the flask management. So for years, PoE players had to experience a thing called piano flask, where it was basically a frantic button mashing system where you were constantly trying to hit the certain flasks for buffs, and it was really annoying. But anyways, Path of Exile 2 is simplifying this with a more streamlined, intuitive approach, and that way it's still going to keep you with some strategic depth, but while also letting you actually focus more on the combat instead of button mashing. Now keep in mind you still have control over how your flasks work, but with the system now it's basically going to be just a health and a mana potion. And of course we can't talk about PoE 2 without mentioning the visuals. The new engine is amazing and the graphics just look incredible. This is really a truly updated game and it definitely shows. The environments feel alive, from the smallest details to the grass and the water to the massive, awe-inspiring bosses that dominate the screen. Combat animations are also a lot smoother, skills explode with vibrant visual effects, and the overall look is sharper and much more immersive than ever before. But these features are just part of the story, and I think the real magic is lying within the community and how everyone is rallying behind this game. Path of Exile 2 hasn't just caught the attention of ARPG fans, it sparked a movement. Whether you're scrolling through Reddit threads, or watching Twitch streams, or listening to YouTube creators, one thing is clear. This game is setting the entire ARPG community on fire. So what's driving all of this excitement? First, the endgame. Path of Exile 2's approach to post-campaign content is already being hailed as game-changing. By integrating dynamic world exploration with revamped League mechanics, PoE 2 promises a grind that feels rewarding, fresh, and engaging. There are tons of interviews coming out from the developers and just talking about the game in general, and it's very clear that they definitely wanted the endgame to be a huge part, especially in early access. And it's really refreshing to hear them talk about how, endgame is a major focus, and that's something that needs to be their day one, because a lot of games honestly get this wrong. Most game developers want to get the campaign and the story right, and then by the time the game comes out, players get to that end game and there's nothing there. So it's really refreshing and really nice to see a company taking care of the end game first and making sure that it's ready to go. And part of the reason why this game is looking so good is because there are other games that are just not doing as well. For me personally, I think the freshest one in my mind is probably Diablo 4. And that game just really let me down, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm like a very experienced Diablo player, but I definitely spent a lot of time in Diablo 3, and I was one of always those kinds of players that basically anytime a new season came out, I would always play it for a couple of weeks, even maybe a month, and I'd always play hardcore, right? So that was something I was always looking forward to, but with Diablo 4, I got it and I played it, and you know, I stopped playing it after a while, and I haven't even bought the expansion for it. I haven't even touched that because, in my opinion, I think the developers over there just have tainted that experience for me so much that I just don't want to play it anymore. I have no desire to. I could probably make a half an hour long video of all the things that I dislike about Diablo 4, but I think for me, the biggest one that really kind of just irked me was that they didn't add in-set items into the game, and they said they would. Before Diablo 4 launched, there was one of those podcast videos where all the developers were sitting down and doing like a Q&A, and one of the questions was talking about set items, and they said that they were going to be planning to add them into the game, but they wanted to do them right, so they weren't going to be there at launch, but they were going to be there eventually. And I tried to find that video to add like as evidence for, you know, them saying that, because I've had people in the past say like they never said that, they never planned on adding that. They actually quietly removed that video from their YouTube channel, so it's not there anymore. I wish I would have saved it. I know I'm not crazy, but they did say that they were going to add set items into the game, and they just never did. But anyways, that is my rant on Diablo 4. Let's get back on track and wrap up this video. It's pretty clear that Path of Exile 2 is definitely going to be setting some records, and I think the player count is going to be insane when it goes live on the 6th. But here's the big question. Will Path of Exile 2 deliver on its massive hype? With early access launching, we're about to find out. And this isn't just the start of another season or expansion. It's the beginning of what could become the most talked about ARPG of the decade. And if the previews and the community reactions are anything to go by, Path of Exile 2 could very well become the defining ARPG of all time, a once-in-a-generation experience that raises the bar for everything that comes after it. So what do you think? Is Path of Exile 2 the game you've been waiting for? What excites you most about the innovations, the visuals, or the ambiguous endgame content? Let us know in the comments, and if you guys are excited, as we are, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching. I'm still Solo, and I'll see you guys in the next one.